I was abandoned by my parents as soon as I was born. They tried to kill me and threw me into the most dangerous dungeon in the world to fend for myself, all because I transmigrated into a dragon egg, and it was a rare double yellow egg that only comes once in 100 years. I was originally one of twins, thinking I was born at the pinnacle of the world, but I didn't expect the dragon's custom was to only raise one offspring per clash. If 2 or more dragon eggs were produced, they would eat the one with the worst quality. Although my dragon dad and mom didn't choose to raise me, they gave me another path to death. Even with the nice name of child, they only wanted one. The couple enjoyed the process. The result was just a bonus. After a little thought, they threw me into the extremely dangerous dungeon. High-level monsters roamed here, and my supreme bloodline was exactly what they loved to feast on. Therefore, my dragon parents were not at all worried I would take revenge, and the fact was just as they expected. With only level 1, just staying alive here was wishful thinking. Although I hid everywhere relying on my small body, and wasn't discovered by the high-level monsters, the long time without food was also draining my life away bit by bit. But just as I was desperately looking around like a headless fly for anything edible, a faint lactic acid smell suddenly came from the dim cave. Although the smell was sour, even a bit stinky, but the young dragon's instinct still told me this was the fragrance of food, and it was a smell that only the nose of dragons could detect. At this time, I didn't care about anything, just followed the smell. Behind the cave, I finally found the source of the smell. It was a spherical cave. In the depressed center lied a 20-meter-long giant dragon, and it was a level 28 subspecies land dragon. One sneeze could blow me to death. With the source of the smell, I could see 3 or 4 young land dragons about my size greedily suckling the breasts. Although land dragons couldn't be considered true dragons, they also had dragon bloodlines. Most importantly, the milk of the subspecies land dragon I as a candle dragon could also drink completely. I carefully crept to the land dragon's little ones relying on the shadow. When I saw the 4 young dragons clearly, I couldn't help but yell in my heart, thank goodness, the old heavens have eyes. Maybe because they were just born. These little dragons hadn't opened their eyes yet, so I didn't have to worry about my shameless behavior being discovered. Finally, after confirming the subspecies land dragon wasn't paying attention to me, I could no longer restrain the empty feeling in my stomach. I bit down on the breast and began sucking vigorously. The subspecies land dragon nursing was also shocked through her whole body, a little confused in her heart. Ouch, which child is this, sucking so vigorously? But thinking it was good the child could eat, her maternal instincts made her reluctant to disturb the child's meal, so she didn't open her eyes. With large amounts of milk flowing down my throat, I only felt a strange heat emerging in my originally cold body. What came with it was my level slowly rising, perhaps because I escaped death, or maybe because the subspecies land dragon's embrace was too warm. As I relaxed from the nervous emotions, I groggily fell asleep. I don't know how much later, the stinging pain on my neck suddenly woke me from my sleep. Immediately after, a huge vertical pupil I instantly filled my entire view. Looking at the land dragon's eyes almost spraying fire, the only thing I could do now was pray that her chewing speed was fast enough, so the pain could be less. Just like that, I curled up my limbs, closed my eyes, and compromised with fate. However, the imagined death did not arrive after waiting for a long time. When I opened my eyes, I discovered the land dragon had not looked at me again. Instead, at some point had turned her head and looked over the 4 land dragon cubs still suckling on her meal, then looked back at me. Suddenly, the land dragon's eyes seemed to become complex. From the initial anger changed to sympathy, then revealed a trace of helplessness. Finally, she hesitated for a moment, sighed, and gently placed me back among her own cubs. I was dumbfounded on the spot, seeing the land dragon no longer pay me any attention, lying down again snoring away, while the land dragon cubs around me who had just opened their eyes seemed to welcome their new brother and excitedly ran circles around me, like 4 little puppies sniffing and licking me. Oh my, mom really adopted this ugly thing. He looks so weird, like the crossbreed between an alien and a lizard. Listening closer, I only knew that they were all scolding me. I let out an angry roar. In an instant, the 4 cubs were all frozen in place. Clearly, they didn't expect I could talk. I was also surprised that I had leveled up and unlocked telepathic communication. After that, not only could I understand other monsters' speech, but other monsters could also understand my words. And so I spent leisurely days in this cave for 3 days. During this time, getting along with these little cubs was pretty nice. Although they frequently trash-talked me, but it was limited to just that. They never bullied me. Their mouths insulted me like I was worthless, seeming to look down on my shameless behavior suckling the white striped meal. But in reality, because I looked the smallest and weakest with the ugliest appearance, so every time sleeping, the 4 cubs would surround me, and every time there was any wind or grass moving outside the cave, the 4 cubs would tightly protect me, their mouths saying things like, "You useless wimp, get back, don't make a sound or cause trouble," and such. But in reality, they were using actions to protect this outsider. Although I secretly checked their data and found the difference with me was more than just a little. But I also didn't poke holes in this window paper. As a rare supreme monster, not only did my level rise faster than them, but these days my level wildly and vigorously rose to level 9, while the 4 land dragon cubs were still only level 4. After 3 days, I really felt like I had made this subspecies land dragon family my own, at least much better than my cold-blooded parents. parents. It was just a pity. During this time, I never spoke to the subspecies land dragon mother. Even if I actively greeted her, the subspecies land dragon mother would at most glance at me and basically not reply at all. I thought this kind of peaceful life would just continue on like this. However, the next morning, a level 35 lower subspecies rhino beast broke this tranquility. As soon as this subspecies rhino beast charged into the cave, its 4 crimson eyes focused on the 4 subspecies land dragon cubs who were clearly starving with red eyes. Seeing this, the land dragon hurriedly swept her dragon tail, sending the cub flying into the corner of the cave, and stood herself before this rhino beast. The 2 sides were on the verge of fighting and soon clashed, but facing the rhino beast higher level than herself, the land dragon could only be beaten back step by step. Finally, in order to protect herself and her 4 cubs, she was pierced through the chest by the rhino beast's thick nasal horn. But even so, the land dragon still exerted all her strength to push back her hind legs against the ground. Even with her chest already punctured through, she still wanted to withstand the rhino beast's charge. I saw her violently clamp the rhino beast's neck in her dragon claws. Then she let out a loud roar, opened her shark-like dragon maw, and fiercely bit down on the rhino beast's back, tearing off a large piece of flesh. And at this time, the cave was also continuously collapsing from the collisions of the 2 behemoths. Fragments fell one after another. Seeing this, I dashed into the air with one leap, using my fists and feet to smash the falling rocks. But with the cave collapsing so quickly, I was already doing my utmost just to protect the 4 cubs, let alone have any energy to help the wet nurse. On the contrary, I would only get in the way. Suddenly, the rhino beast abruptly exerted force like it went mad, charging forward and stabbing its thick bovine horn into the puncture wound already in the land dragon mother's chest, even splitting it open from the unreasonable brute force. The torn chest brought unimaginable pain. The subspecies land dragon knew deep down she no longer had any chance of surviving this fight. She took one last look back at her several cubs, especially seeing me desperately protecting the cubs. Let the subspecies land dragon's eyes reveal a trace of gratification. It was so good I didn't eat you back then. It was as if she said these words. The land dragon's bloodshot eyes suddenly widened. Exerting all her strength, she headbutted towards the rhino beast's rear brain. This strike's momentum shook heaven and earth. The land dragon's skull shattered on the spot. Her jaw also smashed to dust. Even the rhino beast, with its thick skin and flesh, could not withstand such a suicidal attack to its rear brain, and was struck a large pit. The 2 behemoths let out miserable shrieks and heavily collapsed to the ground. With the end of the battle, the cave collapse also stopped. I swiftly pulled myself out and rushed to the land dragon's side. However, her nearly shattered head already seemed to tell me her death had become fact. My child, how are my children? This was the first time I heard the subspecies land dragon mother speak. Her life was already a flickering candle in the wind. Her shattered jaw made her words extremely muffled. Facing the subspecies land dragon mother's question, I struggled to suppress the guilt in my heart because her 4 cubs were already dead, all smashed to death by the falling rocks. The falling debris was simply too much, even exhausting all my power. I could not block the falling boulders. The land dragon's final headbutt triggered large-scale collapses. Although I narrowly survived, the days living together with them were still vivid before my eyes. I had even started seeing them as my own siblings. Just minutes ago still lively and jumping around, yet now all had become souls under the rubble. My child, are they alright? The land dragon mother asked worriedly with her last breath, her tone full of love and care for her cubs. A tidal wave of guilt instantly surged in my chest like an exploding bomb. I almost bit through my back teeth. I forcefully endured the grief and used as gentle a tone as possible to say, they're fine, they just fainted, they're all good, right? Hearing these words, the subspecies land dragon mother finally revealed a relieved smile on her face. After I die, eat me, my child. The land dragon's words instantly stunned me. We were born in the dungeon. It is an ingrained curse, so no resources can be wasted. This is the last nutrition I can give the cubs. I don't know why a supreme monster like you came to the dungeon, but seeing I adopted you, please take care of my cubs in the future. The trembling land dragon could say no more at this point and breathed her last breath. Until the very end, her face still held the happiness of knowing her cubs were safe. She passed very peacefully. The fresh blood on the ground before her knees seeped into the earth. The cave became as silent as death. Yet my wide open mouth couldn't even wail louder, because any cries would attract more monsters. But my heart felt blocked like a stone. The subspecies land dragon who adopted me, the cubs who I lived with day and night, vanished in a flash. The first time the wet nurse spoke to me became her dying wish. At this moment, an unprecedented feeling of powerlessness surged like a torrent impacting my back. However, reality would not give me time to immerse in grief. Accompanied by a deafening boom, the subspecies rhino beast that should have died actually shakily stood up again. With its caved-in head, the rhino beast that stood up again let out a roar of victory. In its eyes, the only remaining small young dragon before it simply posed no threat at all. However, do you want to know what I was happiest about after being thrown into this damp dungeon? Bowing my head, my dragon claws clenched into fists. Facing this behemoth, my trembling voice held not a shred of fear, only excitement. It's that I can kill you with my own hands. After saying this, I let out a loud roar and directly charged at the subspecies rhino beast. I was just about to end things and prepare to enjoy this hard-earned feast when I didn't expect this last young dragon with exuberant vitality to actually dare to rush straight at me. Although he was heavily injured, for the current me to penetrate his thick skin and flesh was still wishful thinking. But there were still ways. The path to victory had in fact already been paved for me by the wet nurse. The way to penetrate his defense was that wound the wet nurse tore open on his neck. I bellowed loudly, transforming into a streak of light shooting straight for the rhino beast's rib ray. My claws stretched to their limit, fiercely stabbing deep into the wound, viciously tearing it open. Over the past 3 days, the scenes of living together with the aloof wet nurse and 4-cup fighting over food, sleeping together, flashed through my mind like a slideshow. The boiling killing intent expanded to unprecedented levels. My mind held nothing but killing this rhino beast to get revenge. 3 to 4 hours later, I came before the subspecies land dragon mother's corpse, my dragon claws gently placed on her. Feeling the remnants of the wet nurse's warmth, I did not immerse myself too much in grief. The dungeon did not believe in tears. Just like the wet nurse said, monsters born in the dungeon were cursed from birth. Dying at any time was nothing strange. I just regretted I couldn't save my 4 siblings. Wet nurse, I will take on that share of righteousness towards you and my siblings, and live properly. My mouth softly murmured, but I didn't shed a single tear. I opened my mouth and took a bite of the wet nurse's body, swallowing down a piece of flesh, barely choking back sobs, swallowing down the tears with the flesh into my stomach. The flesh and blood of loved ones was so bitter, but I still had to force it down even if I wanted to vomit it back up. I had no other choice, or else the bloody smell would also attract other monsters, and the final outcome would still be me getting eaten. 3 days later, I walked out of the cave. Although my level now was only 18, but due to the growth advantage of supreme monsters, I could already contend with level 30 lower monsters. My dragon claws cracked like bursting beans. The corners of my mouth hooked up in an almost perfect lopsided grin, gazing at the endless dungeon. There were a total of 3 monsters around, and my stomach just happened to be hungry again. After saying this, I took the first step towards killing my way out of the dungeon.